My name is Kati, and I'm an intern with Preschool Readers. At Preschool Readers, we understand various factors affect the child's learning process. To remain up to date and informed on best practices, we have an expert interview series. In this series, we interview experts who provide tips, tricks, and suggestions for parents of preschoolers. Today, I'll be interviewing Erica Kesilman, Embodiment Parent Coach, Somatic Trauma Therapy Practitioner, Mentor, and Breathwork Teacher. So, Erica, to start, I'd like to hear a little bit about you. So, what services do you provide and whom do you serve?
Yeah, thank you so much again for hosting and for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And I absolutely love what Preschool Readers stands for, your missions and your values, and how you're helping the community and helping families, helping children really thrive. So yes, as you said, I'm somatic therapy practitioner and family coach. I work with parents and children ages usually 6, 7, and up. I specialize in neurodiversities and holistic psychology and trauma specialist. So when I work with parents, I help parents and really their children too, their whole families, learn to thrive, be the best versions of themselves in all facets of life and all capacities. And that includes like their mind, body, and their spirit. It's really, when I work with parents, it's parents who either want to parent peacefully and not have the patterns of the guilt, overwhelm, stress, yelling, or the parents maybe that find themselves in their own loops of anxieties or shutdown depression, maybe some chronic illness that they're looking to find relief from and peace from. And then with children, any child who experiences behavioral, psychological, emotional, relational challenges, perhaps maybe a diagnosis that they're challenged with, and they're looking for support to help them be the best versions of themselves and to help maximize their health and well-being. Things like sensory processing disorders, anxieties, just really anything that's negatively impacting their health or well-being. I'll support the family in that way so that they could really thrive and learn new techniques, tools, strategies that aren't from like the mainstream mental health approach. It's really related to the integrative approach. My practice is in mind, body, healing, and wellness. So it's kind of connecting mind, body as one entity so that we can really excel in our executive functioning, in our joy, in our creativity, and our passions, and really just help the family have patterns of communication that are supportive and nurturing and loving, as opposed to the patterns that are pretty common in traditional parenting approaches, which is a fear-based style often, or permissiveness of maybe criticism, blame, shame, yelling, or punishment, timeouts or spanking. So I teach parents, particularly the skills and the communication and the tools they need to be able to navigate challenges at any developmental age with more confidence, more ease, and have the language there in place, and also focus on their own emotional and physical health and well-being so they can really feel like, again, the best version of themselves, have a lot of energy, and absolutely love what they do, love parenting, maximize their growth and development in their own professions. And then obviously too, likewise with their child. So there's not as many ruptures throughout the day or stressors throughout the day. So everybody can be in a more pattern of ease and flow. And then how to resolve certain challenges with more ease and flow and peacefulness.
That sounds great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my next question is, what is somatic healing? In the simplest terms possible, how would you describe it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So somatic healing for me, and through my training, through my practice, has been working with the mind and body as one entity so that we can maximize a human's potential. So you operate from a rested, relaxed, confident state. And when we're in the state of relaxation, when you're working with the body and sensations, so somatic therapy is sensations, images, thoughts, and memory and making meaning of our stories, and having the connection between the felt sense of how we feel in our bodies, that sense of relaxation, confidence, control, understanding of your emotional processes, and how they relate to your psyche, your sense of self, your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about the world. But I mean, in the simplest terms, it's working with the mind and body together as one entity to restore that balance and that wholeness, to really excel in higher order thinking and the executive functioning.
Amazing. Moving on, many of our listeners are parents of preschoolers or kindergartners. What are some signs they can look for to determine how their child might be affected? And how are they displaying frustration with them?
Yeah. So, I mean, when a parent gets frustrated, first of all, it's okay. You get frustrated, parenting, working with children, or just human experience. Like, we experience frustration, we experience upset, anger, all of these emotions. So part of the practice here is, as a humanity, as a culture, as a society, we want to unlearn and relearn that, unlearn that emotions are not safe, that it makes us soft, that it means we're weak when we're emotional. And then the anger too, as well, that frustration, that anger. If a parent is frustrated, if a child is frustrated, there's a reason why. And it's okay to express that frustration. It's normal, it's natural. And yeah, so parents will get frustrated, maybe a child will get frustrated. Now, if a preschooler is affected by a parent displaying frustration with them, like if a parent is displaying frustration with their child, with a preschooler, then the child will usually fall into one of two categories. They're either going to really shut down. You go into that freeze, shrink, dissociative state, which is I'm scared, and any access to the higher order thinking, to executive functioning, is blocked off. Like, that's our learning center is blocked off. Our memory center is blocked off. Our hippocampus is affected. So it's that your preschooler might have that body language of just kind of being in that freeze, fear, shrink state. Maybe they'll even, just kind of like collapse almost, or sometimes you see them like staring into space. But if a parent is, frustrated with them, and it depends on so much about the attachment history, which is kind of what I take parents through, what the attachment history is. It's really important to understand what that history is, because that impacts behavior and the patterns. But yeah, so the preschooler would maybe perhaps collapse out of fear of what maybe their parent would say, would do, or that kind of frustration. Depends on how the frustration is being displayed, right? If it's fearful, as opposed to if the parent has the tools, skills, their own emotional regulation skills to be able to express frustration. And it's my frustration. It has nothing to do with you, little one, and it's okay to display it. But so there's that pattern. And then, or there's a fight or flight, right? So a parent who's displaying frustration to a preschooler, the preschooler is going to respond with the fight, more aggressive, right? Fight back, kicking, pushing, shoving, yelling, name calling, throwing, hitting. So a parent is frustrated, they come with that frustration towards the child, then the child is going to want to protect themselves. And the natural instinctual response, the stress response, is to fight back, so it's a biologically correct behavior to want to then fight back. So then the child is going to display that as well. So those are the two. I mean, it might be when it's a chronic pattern and it's an insecure attachment pattern where the child doesn't have that secure attachment with their caregiver. There's more inconsistencies, it's permissive parenting, it's fear-based parenting. Then yes, you're going to see that more chronically, maybe more explosive meltdowns with the child, maybe more rage and anger. And then there's the child too. So it's really those two spectrums. Is the collapse freeze. The child kind of just maybe will comply, but then they lose their connection to their own life force energy. So maybe they'll be fearful to speak up for their needs and their wants. Maybe they become more people pleasers. or maybe they're just seeking the approval and affection, love from their caregivers. They'll do whatever their caregivers want to get that approval, but then they dissociate from their own self. So they lose touch with what's important to them, what their own passions, interests, skill set, their intuitive nudges. So yeah, typically it's the two patterns there, but with the preschool, it's like collapse, shut down, shrink, freeze, or maybe they'll just kind of be quiet. Maybe there's some social anxiety going on perhaps, or relational anxiety. They go into a room and it's difficult maybe for them to warm up, to maybe kind of get comfortable in a new scenario surrounding with maybe making new friends. There's going to be some more insecurity, anxiety, right? Or it's a child maybe who is just having trouble like with listening kind of thing. It's like more defiant, quote unquote defiant. I don't really believe in that word, but it's like defiant, but they're going to be more resistant, more power struggles, and more kind of explosive meltdowns and anger.
And would you say that the reaction a preschooler has is rather consistent? Like if a child begins like having a reaction where they like shut down, that they're going to continue shutting down in those instances?
Yeah, typically they're going to they'll be in the particular pattern more consistently. You'll see that over time. And depending on other factors like in their biology and in their attachment history and their unique nervous system, because with getting to know your nervous system and the unique systems of your children in the preschool, that plays into the part too. But yeah, typically you'll see the same patterns, but maybe perhaps if they're a little bit more in a space environmentally, maybe at home, it's a little bit of the shutdown, but maybe with one caregiver, maybe with dad, more than with mom, you might see also some of the more explosive behaviors as well. Explosive, the fight or flight pattern. But yeah, typically it'll be a more consistent pattern, but it doesn't mean you'll see it all the time, every time.
Okay. So next question. What is breath work, and how does incorporating breath work benefit both the parent and their child's daily lives?
Yeah, it's such a great question. So breathwork is a really big term, umbrella term. It could mean many different things for many different people, but it's an umbrella term for working obviously with the breath in two different ways, right? So you can use the breath to downregulate, to restore, to rebalance, to balance hormones, to detoxify, to de-stress. We all need those kinds of tools because especially in our like Western culture, we're often focused on achievement, kind of success, the next thing, thinking about the future, more of a scarcity mindset. So breath work can be used as the way to kind of tune into this tool, this very powerful tool you have here. It's a free tool that you can use to literally change the state of your nervous system at any given moment and at any given time. So it's very, very powerful and has the power to heal our chronic stress, our toxic stress and adversity that we've experienced, which is like causing inflammation in the blood, in the body. So we can use the breath to downregulate, to soothe. And then we can also use breath work to activate and to go into a sympathetic state of that fight or flight, the state you were perhaps in when you were experiencing a trauma, like if you were experiencing maybe overwhelm and your body was meant to go through the stress cycle of raging because I'm angry about something and I need to, the wave of energy goes up, it reaches a peak and then it goes down. But so we're meant to flow through that very easily, right? So, but often as children, we're kind of taught to not show our anger, to maybe not even show the sadness where it's thwarted. So we're feeling this sensation, this energy that's meant to flow, and it goes up and it's thwarted, it's stopped. So we hold on to that, and that's our bracing, and that causes the chronic tension, the chronic inflammation that's negatively impacting all of our organs, right? And does cause like chronic illness, disease, cancer. So we can use the breath also, which is what I teach, to activate and close stress responses. So activating is you were kind of going into a state, an altered state of consciousness where you activate the limbic system of your brain body, where you go into that stress response and it closes it. So you get activated, like you feel the tension, tightness, and then you feel the release. Maybe it's an emotional release of crying. Maybe it's yelling or, kind of being in the anger. And this is like more advanced, I'd say. It depends on where you're at in your journey, what you're looking to accomplish. But breath work itself obviously can do many different things for many different people. So but basically those two parts, right? Looking at it as a down regulation, relaxation, and the activating state, which closes the stress response to the heals unhealed traumas. Unhealed trauma is like stuck, stored emotional energy. So when you have emotional energy stuck and stored, the breath work can help that bring that up and dissolve it. So you're feeling at the end more light, more relaxed, more open-hearted, but also it's an ability for your body to detoxify. So instead of holding on to that inflammation, it's a way for it to kind of just down regulate and lower the cortisol levels in your system. So rebalances hormones, de-stresses. And then in addition to that, it's like when I work with children, with my own children, using the breath as a way to integrate, like we don't need to be on a hamster wheel of like, we need to do this activity, this is like go. Our body's meant to go in and out of these states of, I'm activated, I'm excited, I'm learning, I'm engaged. And now let's take a break and relax, rest, restore. So we use breath work to do that. And that can help build your emotional intelligence and your emotional awareness of like, all right, I feel excited now. Now I feel content and calm and relaxed. So it builds that intelligence. And it also helps with like the expression of emotions, right? Of emotions in a healthy way. Yeah. So there's many different ways, but certainly for parents, oftentimes it's like, first and foremost, we always focus on like that self-regulation, right? Because where parents are often overworked, they're stressed, they're worried, they have a lot on their plate, which understandably it could be a lot. And sometimes we carry the limiting beliefs of like, I'm not doing enough. So then we push, we burn out. So the breath work can be so beneficial to help restore, relax, renew, and doing so in a way that, maybe you don't have to depend on, so many maybe supplements or medications or things like that. And then of course with children too, when, teaching them these skills at such an early age is tremendously beneficial, right? And that's obviously going to help strengthen their emotional regulator in their brain, which is the foundation for your learning and your creativity, for your higher order thinking. So it's really essential for just to maximize the potential, the human capacity for growth and learning.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Definitely a lot of benefits there. What books would you recommend to parents for them to read to their preschoolers to promote healthy communication styles?
Yeah, this is a good question too. So I had just written down one book and I'll share maybe another one, but I mean, there's so many out there. And I just want to preface it by saying that to promote healthy communication, the communication, what is healthy communication? You need to start with like a definition there of like, what do you mean by healthy communication? And what I teach is communication based on actually the practice of Marshall B. Rosenberg. So if anybody's interested in additional reading for themselves, nonviolent communication is the work of Marshall B. Rosenberg, and he teaches compassionate communication. Nonviolent communication means just communicating in ways that do not cause additional hurt or harm. Okay, so you're speaking in a way that you speak authentically, like, I feel annoyed right now, right? I feel annoyed and I would like some peace and quiet right now, right? Okay, it's too overstimulating for me. It's too loud right now. I need some peace and quiet right now. Okay, I'm going to go take a break and go to my room just to relax for a little bit, whatever it is. So we speak in a way that is healthy, because you're speaking up for what you want, what you need. You're speaking, the unfelt feelings are being felt and expressed. So you have the emotions, the thought process, so all of those working together, and it becomes this kind of flow, this synchronicity where, okay, like I'm feeling like I'm being heard, right? And all of those benefits to that. So that's good for parents, that recommendation. Now, when you're working with children, there's, like I said, so many books. And I would say pick the books that emphasize the acceptance of emotions. Like, yes, it's okay to be angry. We don't need to change it right now. Show me a little bit of that anger. Let that anger be okay. What does that sensation of anger feel like for you? Yes, let's be angry for a little bit. How do we express anger in a healthy, constructive way, in a way that doesn't cause additional hurt or harm to yourself or to others? There are many, many books out there that do not share that or promote that. It's often like, yeah, I'm feeling angry or sad, and we need to get rid of this anger. Like, anger, no, take a deep breath, like stop being angry. We have to stop teaching that to children, right? If they're sad or if they're upset about something, stop thwarting it with the breath, right? So we have to be careful not to do that with breath work, not to thwart it right away, but cultivate and nurture a healthy, like, yeah, this is a part of you. Your anger, your sadness, your joy, it's a part of you. There's no parts of you that are wrong or bad, right? So we want to teach that a lot. So just that one book that I really love that I found does that, and just with the acceptance piece, is called In My Heart. And it's a book of feelings by Joe Wittek, or it's Joe, Jowittek. I really like her book, and I think there's another, maybe, well, the illustrator, I don't know her name, but that was a really nice book, just saying like, yeah, this is when I'm feeling sad. I feel like, blue, and I want to just, I think it's like a picture of an elephant crying, or like just being with the sadness. I do like that one. Now, there's another series, the Grumpy Monkey series. Have you heard of that one?
I have not.
Okay. Yeah, that's another good one. And I'm sorry, I don't know the author, but I found that their books are pretty nice. Sometimes I find that maybe they're teaching a little bit of like, oh, anger, like we need to fix it. But for the most part, it's like, I'm a grumpy monkey, and it's okay to be grumpy sometimes. Like, it's okay. So it's the acceptance of that. So yeah, I would say those three books, one for parents, and then one when you're working with your children.
Yeah, definitely, that perspective I think is healthy and more people should hear about, because I'm sure a lot of people can agree that we've heard like the stigma where, no, you can't be angry, you need to get rid of that. So I definitely think learning to accept it and work with it is very important.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Emotions don't want to be changed or fixed. They want acknowledgement. They want to be
Yeah.
acknowledged and recognized as part of you that wants validation, right? Because if we're communicating to kids that part of you is not okay, it's not accepted, then they internalize that as, I'm not accepted, I don't belong, or I'm bad, or I don't make sense. So there are all these thought stories happen in early childhood from 0 to 7. So yeah.
Okay. And our next question is, how does emotional regulation affect a preschooler's learning process?
Oh, right. Yeah. So, right. Yeah. I touched on that earlier. That's a really good question. How emotional regulation affects the learning process. Yeah. So be careful too with that regulation word. When we use that regulation, just like the caveat of regulation isn't controlling it, it's really connecting with it. Instead of controlling it, just connecting, being in connection with your emotional states, right? So emotional regulation, when we're connected to our emotional states, that's what emotional intelligence is monitoring your emotional states, being aware of them, noticing them, connecting with them, being aware of them. So when you can regulate in that way and say, yeah, I'm feeling angry right now. And why is that? Getting curious about it, accepting it, sensing into it, feeling into it, and knowing how to work with it. That's essential. And preschoolers cannot do that at all by themselves. I imagine you know that. Like you really, a child doesn't have the ability to do that until at least age 7, maybe age 7, most likely later, because it depends on their attachment history. If they have an insecure attachment pattern, it's so difficult to have a strong emotional regulator in their brain body without what's called that external regulator or the co-regulator. But it's essential for the learning process for sure, because I mean, imagine, like, think back, and whoever's watching, to how many times you felt a little nudge or maybe a big nudge of fear, of worry, of anxiety, of insecurity, of stress, of overwhelm. And are you in a place then and there to remember things, to process things in your, central processing, the executive function, to make good decisions, to think clearly, to speak clearly, to problem solve? You're really not. You're not. It's like the amygdala hijack. You're worried, you're anxious, you're fearful of outcomes, you're fearful of judgment. Then it's blocking the ability for you to think clearly, effectively, that higher order thinking, right? All of your organizational skills, the executive functioning skills. So it's so essential. And I mean, I coach obviously parents and kids on how to nurture this emotional regulation in a way that's really effective, so that their learning process, their learning centers in their brain can really, really blossom.
That's great. So this brings us to our last question. Just for fun, what is one word you would use to describe yourself as a preschooler?
Yeah, that's such a good question. What a fun question. So, I mean, for me, I'd say, like, just to keep it short, I'd say active. I remember my parents saying, like, if they would let me swing from the chandeliers, then I would. Like, I was super active and moving my body a lot, like a lot of movements. I would say active. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. So Erica, what you do is amazing and so important. How can interested families connect or work with you?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing those kind words. That's sweet of you. So parents can connect with me easily just by sending me a text message to connect on a breakthrough call, a free breakthrough session or call, a consultation call. And that's my number, 732-890-6147. You can find me on Facebook at Erica Kesilman. So I have some inspirational posts, some advice tips on there. I have a private Facebook that I welcome you into, where I give exclusive trainings and resources. You can find me on Instagram, Erica_Kesilman, and on my website, ericakesilman.com. And you could book a call with me through my website as well, using my calendar feature. So yeah, I look forward. I would love to connect and see if it aligns, if a parent is or a child is in need, and see if it's a good fit to be able to support and really help your family thrive.
Awesome. Okay, before we finish, is there anything else you would like to share?
Okay, I would love to share that whatever's happening for you in your experience, whatever challenges, stressors, worries, fears, you're doing the best you possibly can with what you have, and that's always enough. What you do as parents, the parents I work with, just obviously want the best for themselves, for their children. Sometimes we really are hard on ourselves, so you can just let go of some of that for just a moment, and just for now, and know that what you're doing is always enough. And of course, there's tons of resources and valuable materials things like Preschool Readers to help guide you and support you. And don't hesitate to reach out to ask for help. I know in the very beginning of my parenting, when I was struggling, I didn't want to ask for help. I thought I could just do it myself. I could figure it out myself. And so don't make the same mistake that I did and wait too long. It's never too late, but when your kids are the preschool age, that is the best time to really focus on being the best version of yourself and really healthy communication skills and tools. Yeah,
That's
so thanks so
great.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time again. This has been so fun. And I'm sure our watchers will really enjoy all of the useful information that you shared with us.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I hope so. I do hope so. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. At
Thank
Preschool.
you.
So fun. Yeah. Welcome.